In a remote province, there lived a young man named Michael in an old abandoned mansion surrounded by a dark forest. He was inseparable from horror movies and had developed a particular obsession with the Scream film series. Michael was a devoted fan of the cult movies and possessed extensive knowledge about them. One day, Michael decided to host a special marathon to watch all 5 Scream movies. He invited a few of his friends Emily, Josh, and Karen to join him and indulge in the terrifying atmosphere together. They gathered at Michael's desolate mansion, where he lived alone. The movie marathon started with a cheerful mood, and they were all excited to share their love for horror stories. However, as the movies progressed, the atmosphere began to change. Creaking sounds in the house and ominous shadows outside the windows started to frighten the friends. As the immersion into the movies became more intense, the characters started noticing strange occurrences. Karen noticed that the pictures on the walls were moving as if someone was entering their world. Josh heard whispers in the dark corridor and caught a glimpse of a menacing figure wearing a black mask, hiding behind the door. Michael, growing increasingly nervous and paranoid, believed it was all just a game inspired by the movies. However, his friends were convinced that something was amiss. As horrifying events unfolded, the characters began to doubt that it was all just a product of their imagination. Night fell, and the friends decided it would be best to endure the rest of the marathon together. They closed the doors and windows, but fear continued to engulf them like a tidal wave. The phone line was severed, and the mansion plunged into complete darkness. Inside the building, screams and the sound of footsteps echoed. The friends tried to uncover what was happening, but each attempt only led to more anxiety and fear. As the terrifying events grew more real, it became evident that they had stepped into a living nightmare that couldn't be confined to the realm of movies. They started seeing the killer, the iconic character from the Scream film, in reality. The masked murderer hunted them throughout the mansion, picking them off one by one. Frightening moments from the movies became a reality, and the friends couldn't find a way to cope with this nightmare. Eventually, Michael was left alone, consumed by madness and terror. He realized that the screenplay he loved so much had become the reality of his life. The masked killer became his own version, reenacting the crimes in the real world. The mansion transformed into a new place of horror, both terrifying and alluring horror enthusiasts from around the world. Thus, the story of Michael, immersed in his own nightmare, became the most chilling tale associated with the Scream film. His love for horror led him to his own downfall, and his life became a living nightmare from which there was no escape.
If you like stories like this, please like and subscribe, or you will become a victim in one of my nightmare stories.
Weeks passed since the horrifying events that unfolded in the mansion. Michael, now consumed by guilt and haunted by the memories of his friends' deaths, lived in seclusion, isolated from the world. The once vibrant and enthusiastic lover of horror had become a broken shell of his former self. One stormy night, as Michael sat alone in the darkness of his dilapidated home, a knock echoed through the hallways. Startled, he cautiously approached the door, his trembling hand grasping the doorknob. Opening it, he was greeted by a figure cloaked in shadows. It was a detective named Emma Martinez, who had been assigned to investigate the mysterious deaths that occurred during the ill-fated movie marathon. Emma had heard rumors about Michael's involvement and the subsequent descent into madness. Determined to uncover the truth, she requested his cooperation in solving the case. Reluctantly, Michael agreed to assist Emma, hoping that shedding light on the events would bring him some semblance of closure. Together, they delved into the history of the mansion, unearthing its dark secrets and the tragedies that had occurred within its walls. As they dug deeper, the line between reality and fiction blurred once again. Strange occurrences plagued their investigation, mirroring the eerie events from the Scream movies. The masked killer seemed to haunt their every step, leaving behind chilling messages and ominous warnings. Haunted by his guilt, Michael began to question his own sanity. Were the apparitions real, or were they merely manifestations of his tortured mind? Emma, too, found herself entangled in a web of uncertainty, as the boundaries between the real world and the horrors depicted in the movies continued to fade. Driven by their shared determination, Michael and Emma grew closer, finding solace in each other's company amidst the chaos. Together, they unraveled the truth behind the mansion's dark past, unmasking the malevolent force that had brought terror to their lives. In a climactic showdown, they confronted the masked killer, revealing the twisted motives behind the murders. The truth was more shocking than they could have ever imagined, tying together the threads of the Scream movies and the tragic history of the mansion. With the mystery solved, Michael and Emma emerged as survivors, forever changed by their harrowing experiences. The events had taught them the fragile nature of reality and the darkness that resides within human hearts. As they parted ways, they carried with them a newfound appreciation for life and a shared bond forged in the crucible of fear. The mansion, forever tainted by the horrors that transpired within its walls, stood as a grim reminder of the price paid for obsession and the power of the stories that consume us. Michael, having confronted his demons, vowed to leave the past behind and seek a new beginning, forever marked by the haunting legacy of the Scream films.